Hey, how's it going everybody? My name is Will Tran. Today we are talking about how do we balance a Ronin S. This in particular is the RS3 Pro, but the balancing method is going to be pretty much the same across all 3-axis gimbals. So the first thing we want to do, of course, is to attach our camera to the gimbal. The cool thing about the Ronin S is that all axes are lockable, unlike the original Ronin S. So find the switches on all the axes, and you want to bring the gimbal to its natural resting state. Take your plate, drop it on here, take your riser, attach it to your camera. If you do have a zoom lens like this one right here, just set the zoom to about halfway and then attach your camera to the gimbal. There are 3 axes that you need to balance on a motorized gimbal: the pan, the tilt, and the roll. Let's first start with the tilt. So we're going to unlock the tilt axis, and the first thing you need to do is just to make sure that the camera sits straight. So in this case right here, we're tilting forward, so we need to move the camera backwards by unlocking the plate and then turning this gear and adjusting until the camera sits straight. Once you've got that, it's time to point the camera completely upwards. The end goal here is to get the camera to sit at its position no matter where you put it, like so. If the camera falls forward like this, that means we are too bottom heavy. You need to take the weight off by moving the camera up. If the camera falls backwards like this, that means we are too top heavy, so we need to move the camera down. Throughout the whole balancing process, it really is a game of millimeters, so you need to be very precise in getting perfect balance. In this case, we're falling down, too bottom heavy. I overshot it a bit, now we're too top heavy, moving it down. And now that looks like perfect balance to me. So now that the camera is now staying still in every position, that means we have achieved perfect balance. Now that we've achieved perfect balance on the tilt axis, we can lock the tilt axis down. Now let's move on to the pan axis. Let's unlock the pan axis right here. And what you need to do now is tilt the camera to the left or right. All right, so I'm gonna do this from your perspective right here. If we do this, you can see the back of the gimbal falls towards the direction that we're tilting. That means we're too back heavy, so we need to move the camera forwards. How we do that is that we unlock this bottom clamp, and then we can move it forward. We're gonna tilt again, see where we're at. Again, the goal is to try to get it to sit still no matter where we put it. Close, so we're close here. But where are we falling? I'm gonna tilt it and I'm gonna move the gimbal, and as you can see, it's falling in the opposite direction of where we're leaning. That means we are too front heavy and we need to move the camera back. Again, a game of millimeters, go very little at a time. All right, once you can get the camera to more or less stay in the position wherever you set it, that means you've achieved perfect balance on the pan axis. So we're gonna lock that down. Now it's time to focus on the roll axis. So now unlock the roll axis on the back. There it is. Our goal here is just to get it to sit straight. So as you can see, we are falling to my left, your right. All you had to do, unlock the back latch and counter the way that it's falling. And I think I nailed that on the first try. So now as you can see, the camera is sitting straight. All right, at this point, you have now balanced your gimbal. We've done the tilt axis, the pan axis, and the roll axis. Now, before you turn on your gimbal, you should unlock all the axes. However, this is the RS3, and this is the only gimbal that automatically unlocks all the axes whenever you turn it on. So let's power this guy up. And every single time you do a different setup and rebalance and stuff like that, what you want to do is a motor calibration. Come into the menu settings right here, hit this motor calibration button. The gimbal is gonna start vibrating, doing all its tests. Don't be alarmed, I know it sounds kind of scary. All right, once it's done calibrating, you are now ready to fly your gimbal. Really quick tip right here in case the gimbal gets a little wonky on you. All you have to do is double tap the trigger and the gimbal will reset itself back to its front-facing position. Another thing, by the way, remember how at the beginning how I said if you had a zoom lens, just set it down in the middle? The reason for that is just so you have the least amount of rebalancing to do as possible every time you change your focal length. But honestly, if you're changing just by a couple millimeters, the motors are gonna handle it. But the good practice is that whenever you're zooming, you should recalibrate your gimbal, but most gimbals handle just fine whenever you're changing focal lengths. All right, that's all I got for you in this video. If you have any more questions, please let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.